Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast once again. Thank you so much for coming by. We are almost wrapping up this conversation that we've been having with the Diddy trial. I want to make sure that you stay connected. What D says the podcast, I should have added that image on here. What D says the podcast, you can listen wherever you tune in to podcasts. So wherever you listen to podcasts, I'm still going to be available when this
Now
whole
people
Diddy
already
talk
tuned in. Is that
is
you?
coming to a close, when this whole
No,
Diddy
okay.
conversation is over. Since 2010, I'm still here, right? So you can
Maybe
listen
they get
wherever you listen to
notifications when I
podcasts.
go
What D
live.
says the podcast. You can also hashtag IMD Shields into the podcast platform that you listen to listen to old podcasts since 2010. Or you can tap into the new second level of the podcast, What D Says the
Yes,
podcast,
good
by
news.
tapping on there. You can
For
find that on
before
Spotify,
we
on
have
iHeart, or Apple, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, whatever country you are in, listening to podcasts, it may vary depending on what's available for you to listen to. All right. And you can also tap into YouTube and join my community so you can continue to have conversations with me. Because guess what? Diddy trial over or not, the world will continue to go around. No matter what people think, the world will continue to move on, right? So we will have lots more to talk about. That's what I do. I've been doing this since 2010. I promise you, we do not run out of topics. Thank you so much for coming in, Ken Winston. Thank you so much for coming by, Ken, Frank, and as I say, hey, Den, or hey, Dave, thank you so much for coming by. If you will, when you want to comment, all you have to do is just make a comment. If I don't get to it right away, know that I will. I appreciate your daily heart meet, as well as I appreciate when you gift the live community fest gift. I am requesting those. Those are just one. You can also send heart, roses, whatever it is that, heart me's, whatever it is that you give. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. Ice cream cones, whatever it is that you decide to share with me, know that I appreciate you very much. Okay. So we have some notes that we are going to go over. What I like to do is try to fill up the room a little bit more. Let's get the room filled up, as well as, if you will, tap the screen. Now I know that I am coming in an hour. Let me get some of the, I'm gonna get that door closed, but I am coming in probably about an hour after the norm. As you can see, day 30 of the Diddy trial is moving different. There has been a lot of updates and a lot of, most people just want to get the answer. Is it over? It did, is the trial over? Did they miss trial? Did they acquit? Is he guilty? And they just want to move on past it, because the majority of people out there are really not fans of hip hop. The majority of people out there were not even Combs family followers or anything like that. So you will see the majority of people fall off. Okay, we're close to that. Thank you so much. So you'll see the majority of people. Thank you for that. You'll see the majority of people fall off. So if you will just tap that screen. I know that I have a restriction going on, so it may be very. Let's go ahead and get this recorded, because after I get it recorded, it'll take about 30 to 45 minutes to get it recorded. After I get this conversation recorded, I will then go to YouTube, and it'll load to YouTube like yesterday. You guys did phenomenal with that. Let's check the numbers, if we will. Let's, if we can, real quick, if you don't mind. I'm going to stop in and check the numbers real quick, okay, as to what happened yesterday on YouTube. Now, listen, I had a live that they didn't appreciate when we were talking about Fat Joe. So if you are coming by and familiar with it being a lot of people in, and you like to interact with a lot of people, you may not be able to do that today, because they did tell me what happened. They did put a restriction on sending it out in the FYP. We have to do the work today, basically. They're saying you are going to have to send it out in the FYP on your own. You're going to have to tap your screen. So I just need you guys to please just tap the screen, if you will, to get that conversation going. We're talking the Sean P. Diddy Combs trial. We are headed to closing arguments. And I know a lot of rumors out there. Diddy trial is over. TMZ said the Diddy trial is over. TMZ, I went to see, why are so many people thinking that the Diddy trial is over? And TMZ does have a misleading title on their, profile. That's why I put a question mark. But they do have a misleading title on their profile, and I think people are just scrolling and seeing that headline as they post it on X, and sometimes they post it on Instagram or Threads or wherever they post that. And I think that people are seeing that, and then they didn't see everything that Harvey had to say. I know I think that sometimes they think those dramatic, misleading show titles on YouTube tend to bring people in, but a lot of times people will just read that headline, go over to their blogs, and begin to say whatever it is that they think without giving you the truth. That is why I stayed here for 30 days, just so that you guys can have the truth, so that we can stand together and prove. Jacqueline, thank you so much for coming in. Beyond reasonable doubt. Charlotte, thank you so much for coming in. So that we together can prove beyond reasonable doubt. Thank you, Don, for coming in. Thank you for those who come in, and thank you for those who stay in, so that we can prove beyond reasonable doubt what we think has happened in this case. So what I will do is go ahead and get ready to go into the conversation. I will tap it, take a look at your comments as they come up. I do have them pulled up a little bit more than normal. YouTube link in my bio. Tap the host YouTube link in bio. You missed the show yesterday. Full conversation is posted already on YouTube. You guys get, that's what we had YouTube open for. We wanted to take a look at those numbers and see how did we do yesterday. How well did we do on the conversation? We know we did about 4,000 to 6,000 here. We know that we're in trouble today, so because of that, I have to do my own work to get my crowd back. That's kind of like what they call, you heard a lot of people call it TikTok in trouble, clink clink. So the TikTok clink clink means that you have to ask your audience to work harder. You have to beg your audience to, please hit the screen, have to do a lot more work. So if you will, while you're tuning into me as I give you a very critical update, I'm going to explain to you charge by charge. Again, I am your host, D Shields. I am a recent paralegal graduate, 2024 paralegal graduate, as well as I study psychology. I majored psychology, minor Christian ministry. I also study social work as well as child development. And I'm an author, I'm a podcast host, and a host of other things. You can find all that information out by just joining my community and being a part of my community. And to join my community, you do that on YouTube. YouTube link is in the bio. Also, we're moving on. We had the other book in the book link up yesterday, but now the new book is up. We are moving on. And if you guys get this screen to 10K, I'm not going to make you buy the book. I'm just going to read to you from the book, and I'll do that at the end. Why make you buy it when we're in an economy where people can't really absolutely spend sometimes even $5 just to read someone's book, right? So I'm just going to read it to you. So if you will, if you get this to 10K, that is your gift today. You'll get me reading Reasons She's Excessive Over a Man. You can click that link in the bio so that you can see what it is. You get the screen to 10K during the Diddy talk, you get that treat and remind me if I forget. Okay. All right. So, coffee, how's your Wednesday going?
See how it goes.
Let me know how your Wednesday's going. Thank you for those who tune in. All right. So, we are going to see the conversation from yesterday. How did that do? How did that do? The entire conversation. Okay, so real to real, you brought it at about 500 per short on the clipped generated AI shorts that were on there. You guys brought that to a close, and just so that we can confirm, so that you can hear this said, so that you don't think that I'm going to be making anything up. There is a pause because people are putting out there that the Diddy trial is over. So let's just see if she has time, and if she has time today, we will just ask her just real quick before I get into the talk. Let's see, microphone on. Alexa, Alexa, question. I have a question for you. Is the Diddy trial over? That's my question right now. Is the Diddy trial over? Because that is what everybody's reporting. We'd like to get some clarity as to how you will report that back. When do you expect closing arguments to begin, Alexa?
Closing arguments in the Diddy trial are expected to begin tomorrow, Thursday, June 26th. The prosecution and defense have rested their cases, and the jury is preparing for deliberations, which should start by the end of the week.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. Have a great day.
Same love. All right, so Alexa has already just told you what I just told you, okay? So we will just get that confirmation so you guys don't think I'm misleading you because a lot of people are putting some misinformation out there just to draw you into their channel, and I don't have time to do that. I'm going to get my, I've been here since 2010. I'm going to get views on my podcast platforms. I'm going to get listens on my podcast platform, whether I tell you a big, huge lie or I tell you a big, huge truth, because I am, solidified in this podcast world, right? So I don't have to do all those extra things that people like to do for clickbait. So here we are, 1 month later. Excuse me if I lean back because I'm tired of working. No, I'm not. I'm not. I love to work. I love to work. I love my job. All right. So 1 month later, the prosecution rests. Now, listen, the defense will rest with no witnesses as well. So a month later, prosecution came to arrest yesterday and they say, look, we are resting. We brought all that we could bring, as well as we had to go home and have some dinner and meet together. We stayed up all last night and we ended up having to put a whole letter together because we did get called out by the defense and we felt that hit. So because we felt that hit, we're going to go ahead and clean our A's all the way up and do what we need to do before you guys try to say that we bamboozled this trial, right? So they did come and clear the air when they arrived today, right? Which was brilliant because the defense was ready. The defense will not be bringing any witnesses, so you can might as well say that the defense kind of rests. Diddy said yesterday. I told you guys he spoke yesterday. You guys don't, if you don't, we're not here for what I said yesterday about what Diddy said. Put it in the chat, and I'll give you what his words when he spoke in the court yesterday. Okay. Now, 2 p.m. today, that's probably already happened in New York. The charging conference begins and it's still ongoing. So when you see the charging conference has not been canceled, that is why I tell you, you guys have been given misleading information. So when you see that the charging conference has that the charging conference has not happened. I mean, it's continuing forward, is happening, is continuing forward. That's always a good sign for you to kind of keep up with what's real and what's not real in this world where a lot of people put a lot of misinformation out. I did tap into a lot of actual legal analysts and actual high profile attorneys just to make sure that we got the real deal in the language that they use to keep us all the way on track. If I'm a paralegal, I wouldn't be right if I didn't do that for you. Okay. All right, so the prosecution has dropped a major part of the Diddy charges. Okay, so here's what you guys heard Harvey say on TMC, and then we will go into some more clarity from some of the attorneys just to get you a full understanding. Let's make sure that I read it without any mishaps. Okay. All right. So prosecution has dropped major part of the chart of the Diddy charges. True, right? So Harvey on TMZ says this. Prosecution sent the letter over to the judge, and the prosecution is saying this: let's eliminate the attempted kidnapping. Let's eliminate the attempted arson. We're also aiding and abetting sex trafficking. Let's kind of clean that up. But those charges didn't completely go away. And I'm going to explain that to you in a minute. Let's kind of clean that up. But those charges didn't completely go away. And I'm going to explain that to you in a minute because that's kind of some confusion that's out there with the bloggers who are just now tapping in for the sake of just being popular and talking. But this is not something that they do all the time. So they may not know how to do their due critical thinking, due diligence research when it comes to breaking these things down for you. And that's why I do that for you. Why? Because I've been trained by attorneys on how to do that. And that's the reason why I do it for you. All right. So here's what this means, right? We know that arson, of course, relates to the Kid Cudi, right? We know that it relates to that part. And then they say that Diddy, what this means, right? We know that arson, of course, relates to the Kid Cudi, right? We know that it relates to that part. And then they say that Diddy allegedly, beat up a car, right, of Kid Cudi with the cock. You should know that Cassie did what she did. And let me close this out real quick. All right. All right, sorry about that. I have to get that sound to stop. Thank you so much. If you will, guys, tap that screen. You tap the 10K. I promise you, I'll be reading from the book. All right, so like I said, there's a cycle that Cassie has, and we pretty much seen that it displayed across media, paparazzi coverage, the trial coverage, always trying to clean up her image. We know that she was working really hard, as we could see, to keep her image clean and to not be associated with anything negative, right? So, Cassie, again, she did what she did, and I kind of will read that from the book. If you guys get it to 10K, you'll hear me read and give you an example of what that means when she's excessive over a man, right? If not, you can't stay that long and you don't get to stick around for that because you're at work like the rest of us. If you're at work and you're not able to stick around, click that link in the bio. You could go grab the book, a copy of the book, and read it yourself. Reasons she's excessive over a man. So, an excessive woman may have excessively told some untruths regarding what actually happened the night at Kid Cudi, because it's more looking like you broke into your own man house, made it look like your ex did it, created all this chaos, called him, sent him on a wild goose chase, had him thinking that Diddy's somewhere after him because that's a narrative that was easy to pull. Then you and your boys and your people go and throw this thing into the car. It's all looking like Cassie and her crew did this, and less looking like Diddy. So the prosecution goes, well, let's pull those charges. Let's clean those charges up. Okay, just a little bit, right? Uh, right. Okay. So thank you for comments. I appreciate that. If you will do your comments, make sure you comment. That gets points for you when you comment. Also, your daily heartbeat. Thank you for that. Tap the screen. All of that gives you points as well as me. If you tap that screen to 10K, we have to do the work ourselves today because we do have a restriction going on when I shared that YouTube link earlier. So because that YouTube link was shared on the live, there's a restriction. So they're saying we're not putting it on the FYP. If you want it on the FYP, you do it yourself. We love you, TikTok. We appreciate that. We know how to work harder. That's what we do. We're good at that, right? So go ahead and just tap that screen, tap it up. If you get it to 10K, it'll move. If you get to 6K, it'll move. Thank you for doing so while we chat, okay? So we're on FaceTime, boo. This is just what we do. We're on FaceTime, boo. This is just what we do. Let me clean that up just a little bit. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So let's get that cleaned up. All right. So listen, now that the kid Cuddy part of the testimony is likely fully straight. What do you guys think about where did they drop the charges? There are some drop charges, baby girl. If you stick around, I'm going to share with you exactly the charges. I'm almost to it. I'm going to share with you the charges that have been dropped, which will change the trajectory of what they will be able to see, what the jury will get as they go into the charging conference that started about an hour or so ago. That charging conference is the prosecution and the defense meeting with the judge to go over, what are you giving my jury? That's what the judge wants to know. What are you handing my jury? Is this something that they can handle? Will this be something that they can take? Nope, drop that, drop that. The judge is also spending his quiet time in a corner looking at this mistrial request. I'm going to tell you how that attorneys lay out whether or not the mistrial will go on. Tap my profile and you'll see my level of experience so I don't have to go through that whole spill again, okay? And I'm going to tell you guys that, all right? Now, listen, let's get back to what Harvey said and from TMZ that's misleading the world. You're too powerful to do stuff like that, Harvey, but you are misleading the world, not because of you, because those headlines that your staff put up. Yeah, clean it up for you. All right. So back to what Harvey was saying, and that people didn't click on. They didn't click to hear what Harvey had to say. They just clicked on that, saw that headline that the trial was over, and they were thinking that it was over. So Harvey continues on to say, as far as the kidnapping from Capricorn Clark, Diddy's assistant, the claims that she says that someone, Uncle Paulie took her. Uncle Polly. She didn't say Diddy took her. She said Uncle Polly took her to had her held for 5 days in that warehouse, and we gave that address when we covered that part, right? So she was held in this kind of warehouse way, and then she went back, and she was accused of taking a necklace, and she was held for 5 days over that, and it was sort of like a kidnapping kind of thing. But the prosecution goes in and sends a letter, and I'm going to detail that letter to you that they slipped to the judge earlier. I'm going to get that over to you, the details of that, so you can understand what happened. So just want you to remember this one thing about Capricorn Clark testimony. CC testified that Diddy was not there. You have to stick with that and understand why the prosecution has to move differently with those charges, or they look like they're bamboozling a BLK man, which is something that does happen in the judicial system. So to not be accused of that, these are five white tea women that say, look, before they say we tried to take down this guy, because we didn't even put a BLK person on our prosecution team to come at this dude. So because of that, before we start looking like what the defense accused us of 2 weeks ago when they asked for an appeal, for the when they try to get a mistrial, earlier. Here's what we need to do. We don't need to look like that. So let's get together. Let's put this letter together. And what we will do is we will send that over to the judge and kind of clean, bidet style our bumps. Okay. And what we will do is we will send that over to the judge and kind of clean, bidet style our bumps. Okay. So they bidet their bumps this morning to try to make sure okay, that's what they were doing, right? To make sure that they were not accused of what would the public would definitely have came for, right? Now remember, CC testified that Diddy was not there. So they are eliminating that, and that's wise to eliminate that part of the testimony. So so let's push that part of the charges out of the way. So this Capricorn Clark kidnapping charges, let's move that over out of the way. Now there's activity that is being accused of from the entire enterprise around what happened with Capricorn Clark as a whole as Diddy's assistant. I didn't say that that was removed. Why? Because they didn't remove that. That's still a part of her testimony, and that is still critical to where they want to go with Rico. So that is why that has not been moved completely out of the way. So no, they didn't dismiss Capricorn Clark's testimony. They just kind of, we're not going to do that whole kidnapping thing. Was Diddy there? No. You want somebody? Go after Uncle Polly. You want somebody to go down for that? And they probably will, Uncle Polly. They coming, but they can't come for Diddy on that. A lot of people that are brought up in the trial, they will be coming for you. And just like Jeffrey Epstein, when Ghislaine Maxwell was brought to trial after Jeffrey, because you keep coming up. So if you keep coming up, expect to have your name called on the very lines of United States versus Yo A. Okay. All right, so let's move on past that. They look like so that's why they're eliminating those alleged Diddy kidnap me charges, as well as Jane. So this is a guy, and he's with this girl, and then he's breaking up with this girl, and he's with this girl again. He's breaking up with this girl again. You really don't have no full proof that anything more is going beyond reasonable doubt that anything more is going on with him and Jane, other than some of the behaviors of Sean P. Diddy Combs that are testified consistently when it comes from Cassie to Mia to Capricorn Clark to Jane. So some things are consistent. Kid Cudi, some behaviors are consistent. So you can land there, right? So, but you were up here. Prosecution showed up here, but because you were up here, we're gonna bring it down just a little bit because you just kind of went a little too cray. Okay, it just kind of made this man like a whole monster, right? But you need to bring it down just a little bit if you expect the jury to go in your direction as well. And that's why those charges are shifting and just a little bit. Okay, so they are also taking things off the table, and that's just going to sort of lessen what the jury was going to go in to deliberate about, right? Now, does the chat have any other questions? Any questions regarding that? If so, a lot more than I'm about to cover, but you want to tap in and ask a question, go ahead. Beyond reasonable doubt, now that you see the kidnapping of, now that you see the car being at Kid Cudi's house, beat up at Kid Cudi's house, and now that you see the Capricorn Clark, what she said Uncle Polly did, and that's not Diddy. Now that you see the prosecution coming in and moving those charges away from Diddy and bringing those charges down to invisible, now that you see some of that go down, where are you at? Do you find him guilty or not guilty beyond reasonable doubt? Go ahead and mock jury answer in the chat, and I would love to see your answers on that. All right, so again, sex trafficking and racketeering, guilty or not guilty? Where do you stand on that? Aiding and abetting, sex trafficking, right? Listen, also, if you will tap that screen, let's do a little better than that. Let's tap the screen just a little better than that, if you will. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. I won't call out your name so that you can stay, I don't want to run you off from the chat. Sometimes people don't want their name called out. They may have an ex, boyfriend in there, and they're like, I didn't want you to let him know I was here. Okay, nobody told you to do that, ma'am. All right, so I won't call out your names right now, but thank you if you're in the chat. I appreciate you. All right, so Diddy's assistant booked the hotel room. Okay, so when it comes to this aiding and abetting thing, the assistant booked the hotel room, right? Whether they really have, you know, booking.com, Trivago, you're a paralegal, you're a legal assistant. Before I spent 15 years, 15 to 20 years working in admin legal assistant type positions, right? Booking hotel rooms. I'm not about to be brought into court over one of my past CEOs or one of my past attorneys that I work for. If you have some shenanigans going on and they call you on a RICO, don't be coming for me about that hotel. That all I simply did was when you called me at home and I was off work anyway, and you called me at the last minute to book your hotel. All I did was went on the account like you have trained me to do. I went on the account, booked it, and then you told me somebody was coming and that wasn't your wife's name. But it's 2025. I still ain't told nobody. Okay. So, what are you talking about? So that's just people doing their due diligence. They're doing a job. That's not really RICO. And so you have a jury that can take a look and tap into that. You do have a CEO, business owners sitting on the jury, so they will be able to attest to that and say, listen, now, I have my secretary do things like that all the time, right? So that's looking good for professionals existing on that current jury that will go into deliberation, right? Um, that would really, again, someone said it in the chat, again that would make all of us have to go down if that's the case, right? If that's the things that they look at, it would be ridiculous to bring someone on those type of charges and aiding and abetting sex trafficking already. That's just reaching already, right? So it's hard to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Definitely don't send that into the jury for deliberation. If you're smart, which they were, they woke up, they came in, they dropped some charges this morning, because those ladies of that prosecution, they're just as smart as the 9 attorney team and consultant Mark Garrigo's team of Sean P. Diddy Combs, right? Now, sex trafficking, got to be careful, F1 in the chat. Sex trafficking has major reasonable doubt when it comes to consent of all the witnesses that, you know, look like madams at this point, right? Let's go into one of the witnesses. Let's go back to yesterday. I don't want to get too lost in the notes, but let's go back to yesterday. You had one of the madams. She already showed you, oh, he texted me this and Diddy told me to do this, right? But then Jane also texts stuff like this. I'm free tomorrow. I can fly you out. Talking to Cabral, one of the escorts. I can fly you out. Are you busy, baby? Do you want to come see me, baby? You want to come make some money and lay up with me, baby? That's a whole A madam. That's a whole A madam. Okay, so when you have a whole A madam working, yeah, you're not gonna take the CEO down on sex trafficking, right? Because those are people that are willingly consenting to, there's no forcing of, they are consenting to, right? Let's read that. Mystic. Yes, she did testify under immunity as well. Thank you for clearing that up, Mystic. Yes, Capricorn did testify under immunity as well, right? All right, so then back to where we were. Now, defense is still on their motion to acquit. Naturally, how many times have we seen this, and how many trials have we seen that aired across television? How many trials have we seen the defense team try to acquit, motion to, acquit? Of course, they're going to do that, or are they going to get that way? Highly unlikely, but we don't know. Judge Subramanian could get frustrated in this charging conference and comment that this is over. We have no idea what he will do. We know that it's probably pretty heated in there, right? It will still more than likely, according to the many legal analysts and attorneys channels that I tapped into, they have pretty much said it really looks like it's going to go to the jury. Okay, there's no misunderstanding, and you even heard Harvey from TMZ say the same thing. But just putting it out there, just so people could know what the options were this week, right? Now, transportation for purpose of prostitution across state lines for purposes of a SMEX Act. Definitely proven that. Yes, I am a person been covering this trial for 30 days, went back and forth on whether or not
If
we
you're
think
tapping
beyond
in,
reasonable doubt.
please click
I
like on the
think
live.
that from everything that I see presented, and I was sitting on that jury, yeah, you've proven to me beyond reasonable doubt that you went from Miami with a person and took her to California for that purposes of activity in swinger life. And then you took that person from California to New York for swinger life. Like, yeah, you did cross those state lines. Transportation for purposes of prostitution, definitely not frowned on activity, frowned on lifestyle that's happening within the nation right now. They're definitely moving in directions of Congress wanting to get far away from the Johns being able to continue this business. So that's a very popular topic. How on time was the Diddy trial? How convenient was the Diddy trial for those particular issues definitely being laid out in Congress right now, right? All right. It said this there's no sequestering on the jury is I just really didn't like that part, right? So I didn't like that the jury was not sequestered from day one. I should say that. You said my husband said non-sequestering on the jury is going to cause room for many issues. I agree. That's why I said if you would just go ahead and throw this thing out and tell that prosecution, come your back. If you want this guy, Sean P. Diddy Combs, bring your issues with this guy back in 2026. Clean your act up. Bring some real witnesses. Don't bring no Hollywood drama in my courtroom. I don't have time for stunts from Kid Cudi. I don't have time for stunts for Kanye. I don't have time for Cassie coming in here playing games. Make sure that she is all the way not pregnant so that we can get everything that you intended to get. Because Cassie is still in love with. Let me clean that up with Cassie previously loving Diddy so deeply that she couldn't let it go. Look at that link in my bio. Reasons she's excessive over a man. I described those Cassies, right? So reasons she's excessive over a man. So this is a person that still tried to CYA just in case. She has Diddy's and his name is in her phone under JIC. Okay, because she wanted to make sure that she didn't all the way tick him off, is in her phone under JIC. Okay, because she wanted to make sure that she didn't all the way tick him off. So Cassie didn't really give the prosecution what they thought that she had promised them that she would give. She got the attention because she definitely sought out to do that in 2023 when she brought these claims against Sean P. Diddy Combs anyway. But she left out so much in 2023. That's why she disappeared from the public because she didn't tell us that, oh, I'm a part of this. Oh, I've been doing this. Oh, I have escorts that I use myself. Oh, I make some money on the side with this lifestyle as well. So much is left out, right? All right. So it's just so much that the judge should have just said, let me throw this Hollywood drama. What did I tell you guys? I told you the t-shirts will be available. Said, let me throw this Hollywood drama. What did I tell you guys? I told you the t-shirts will be available. I told you if the drama doesn't fit, they must acquit. And that's really the direction that they should go by the end of the day today. But we have so much more to cover and we don't know what the judge, I said that we have proof of the workers and escorts. I told you that. So closing arguments are expected. Let's just continue on this. If the charging conference come to a close, everybody left for the day. They're on to dinner and they went on to rest and get ready for what is going to be the most important day of the Diddy trial. I want you to forget the baby oil. I want you to forget the Astro. I want you to not talk about the Punisher anymore. I don't want to talk about Cassie dramatic. Me and you know Cassie's dramatic. I don't want you to talk about that anymore. Capricorn Clark didn't get her way, but at the same time, she continued on to a career working for a high profile celebrity. And Jane didn't get her way, but she continued on her career. We talked about that yesterday, working for a high profile celebrity. None of those girls were. She continued on her career. We talked about that yesterday, working for a high profile celebrity. None of those girls were damaged to the point where they couldn't continue on. Can you imagine? I am a podcaster and I love to get the pop culture entertainment tea. Can you imagine that I leave here and I start working for Madonna? Girl, if I was working for Madonna, I don't have time to go back and talk about what happened to me with Diddy. I have moved on. Thank you, Sean P. Diddy Combs, for this opportunity because although things did not go the way that I wanted them to go when I consented to the lifestyle to be with you and I consented to that escort lifestyle, but guess what? Thank you, sir, because I got a job working for Madonna. Okay, so I don't think that I would have been a part of this, but then she was subpoenaed, so they had to kind of cover their, that's why some testified under immunity as well as under, the Jane Doe's kind of testimonies, right? Mystic says, Coach D, what charges were dropped? I am getting right to that. I'm almost there, you guys, right? Sorry about that. Thank you for getting me back on task. Don't let me get on a celebrity. Don't let me go across the red carpet cutting up about Cassie. All right, so let's do this. Can I have something to drink real quick? Hold on. Mm, because there's so much to cover and it's so hot in Texas. All right, so back to it. Now, closing arguments begin on Thursday. I'm going to tell you something about those charges. I'm going to break that down to you in just a few. Just want to clear up. Jury into deliberation after that, unless something different is announced from the judge. Right now, at this point, you only want to hear from the judge. Yes, the prosecution went in this morning, submitted a letter to the judge. I'm going to read you the details of what they submitted to the judge. Once they did that, That is up to the judge to go in and say, okay, here's what you said, but they did drop some charges, as I talked about earlier. Let's go back for you guys that may have just came in. Let's talk about this. Prosecution sent the letter to the judge. The prosecution said this: let's eliminate those attempted kidnapping charges. Okay, we're going to bring that down. All right, let's repeat that again. They also said that attempted arson, yeah, we're going to have to go ahead and throw that out the door. Who's attempted kidnapping charges? They're saying Capricorn Clark was taken by someone named Uncle Polly. Yes, employed by Sean P. Diddy Combs, but not Diddy. So how can I charge this man with arson? I mean, kidnapping. I'm sorry. How can I charge him with that when he wasn't there, allegedly, according, it was like a hearsay testimony. So we don't have time for that. So they're dropping that. Also, when it came to arson, well, DNA found was a woman's DNA. So if we're going to go by DNA on the scene and nothing else, and all those other theatrics and everything else, Kid Cudi is an publicly known addict. Okay, so we don't know if Kid Cudi remembers what happened. We've seen images of Kid Cudi. Have you seen the paparazzi images? We've seen him laid out in the middle of the street, so gone that they have to carry him out of nightclubs. Sometimes because he is so far gone. So we don't know whether or not his recollection of what actually happened is the actual deals, and someone told him to say that. Not talking about prosecution. I'm talking about a music industry that may have talked to him and brought him in on this game, right? All right, so let's go on, move forward. And that was more just to clear Cassie's peach, her CYA, her peach. All right, there we go. All right, so Elizabeth Milner is a person, you know, you guys, that's a journalist for Law and Crime, and she sits directly in the courtroom. So here's her update today. She says that she was surprised to hear about the prosecutors, and I get it. Like, I was like, they did what? Why are you dropping these charges now? You had us sitting here for 30 days acting like I don't want my summer. You have my entire vacation moved a whole week away over Sean P. Diddy Combs. I could have already been gone. I could have been already on my vacation. And here I am. That's okay. Because in 2 more days, I'm going to my therapist and we're going to be talking about the Diddy trial again. And I am going to be blaming these prosecutors that could have just brought this from the beginning. All right. So, anyway, so the jury says, and Elizabeth said this, you know, people, especially myself and others, were surprised to hear about the prosecution dropping and announcing those lesser charges letter to the judge, right? Now are not they are not abandoning all of the charges. They are not abandoning all of the charges. It doesn't mean that all of these charges are dropped. The charging conference is expected and did continue on at 2 p.m., right? The attorneys disagree on TMZ. Law and crime attorneys disagree with TMZ Harvey. They say that it's not a complete abandonment of all the kidnapping charges. And they said that, you know, just based off of what happened with Jane. So they didn't completely abandon, they just said Capricorn Clark says Uncle Polly took her. Uncle Polly did a lie detector test. Uncle Polly held her for 5 days in a home. She testified on stand that Diddy did not do this. Diddy was not there. It was her answer, right? So because of that, that is the reason why they say we have to drop that CC business. Like the attorneys knew, I mean, prosecution knew. Look, no, we don't have time to do that, right? Now, also, sorry, you guys hang in there, hang in there. Did you get that chat up? Okay, let's try to get that chat all the way up, you guys. Try to get that chat. Whew, I tell you, it is so hot. It's Texas. You can run the AC at 30 and it still will be hot. I promise you the AC's out over there at 68, I think, right? All right. So um they're just streamlining the case for clarity. Does that make sense, y'all? They're streamlining the case for clarity, changing the verbiage in some of the charges originally brought by the feds, kind of changes it from just being so. You don't, again, as a prosecution of 5 white women against this black man, and a judicial system that constantly does unfairness. You don't really want that kind of a thing to happen. It also, someone said we could go back just so we could get complete clarity as to the exact charges. Let's go back and ask old girl. Let's see if she has time again. Let's go back and ask her real quick. You guys tap the screen while we're waiting to ask. All right, let's see if she has time. Okay, so hey, Alexa, it's already 2:31 p.m. Central. Do you have the exact charges from the letter that the prosecution put into the judge for the Diddy trial? Do you have the exact charges that were dropped? Do they have complete list somewhere that says the exact charges that were dropped?
Prosecutors dropped several charges against Diddy, including attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking. These charges were part of the racketeering conspiracy count, which is count one in the indictment. The exact letter to the judge isn't available, but the drop charges were reported by multiple news sources today.
Thank you so much for that, Alexa. I appreciate that. So you said the prosecution dropped several charges against Diddy, including attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting and sex trafficking. Right? These charges were part of the racketeering conspiracy count, which is count one in the indictment. The exact letter to
Yes,
the judge. Okay,
that's correct.
got it. Okay, thank
The
you, love.
prosecution dropped several charges against Diddy, including attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking.
No
These
problem.
charges were part of the racketeering conspiracy count, which is count one in the indictment. The decision to drop these charges was made to simplify jury instructions and streamline the legal process.
Okay, babe. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for coming by again.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help provide that information. Have a great day.
Same. All right. So again, so that's the charges. Did I clear that up for you guys? Let me know if you need me to read that out loud if you weren't able to hear that completely. Jay Switch said they're trying to drop, but they may get him a true, right? We always could have that H jury. I can't say that on live, but yes, I get where you're coming from. Oh wow, yeah, trap official, man, yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so listen, let's get back to Joey's. Okay, no, let me say this. So Kid Cudi, Cassie, KK, Mia, Jane, all testified a behavior of Sean P. Diddy Combs, right? So they're gonna the prosecution now has, okay, we dropped charge one, but we still have to try to lean in on this thing that we think happened and this thing that we believe is still Rico. We still have to lean in on this thing that we brought him on, and we still have these, kind of charges that are still pretty heavy, and we want to still present this to the jury. So we'll go ahead and go into the charging conference. We'll go over what the judge will, say, yes, okay, my jury can take a look at that in deliberation. The jury may come back in 30 minutes and say that this trial was so chaotic. Let me tell you this. The jury has been reported for people in the main courtroom that they are exhausted and tired of looking at adult tapes. I just can't believe that they had to look at 50 tapes, right? So 2 to 3 minute clips of 50 different F offs, 50 different Wild King nights, and 50 different debauchery nights. They had to look at those footage, and they do say that there appeared to be a lot of exhaustion. And so they have to go in again, and they're probably going to take those tapes and throw them across the room and say, y'all ready to go? Because it's 4th of July. We done with this. Not guilty. Right, they don't want to have to sit and look at that over and over again unless they nasty. Call him Miss Jackson if so. All right. So Joey Jackson said this: was all of the activity heard in testimony actual criminal activity, though? When you talk about Kid Cudi, Cassie, KK, Mia, when you talk about Jane, all that testimony, all that behavior, the Punisher, when you talk about Punisher, really kind of was for the defense. He said that so many times on his interviews after the trial, after he testified in the trial, like, what exactly do you have me here for? It's clear that I stand for Sean P. Diddy Combs. Enjoyed the money that I made, 2,000, 3,000, dropped every time I did real good. And now I'm writing a whole book about my ED, and I suffer for ED, he says, because of XYZ. So the Punisher suffers from ED. He definitely knows for sure that he had a good time. I mean, the man had a good time. You could tell his life was a good time. So he had nothing bad to say about Sean P. Diddy Combs, right? Or about his, behavior, so to speak, except for the things that we heard judgmental wise, since the Homeland Security went into Diddy's bedroom rather than going into the things that they could have went into. They made such a big deal about Baby O, Glass Sugar, Cassie, laying up, rubbing up, like all that was such a big deal rather than stick to, if you want to bring Rico on a person, get out the bedroom, right? And it was just too much Diddy bedroom information, right? So look, chat, the defense can stand strong on this. This is an icon, right? This is the defense. This is an icon. This is not a man that is running a criminal enterprise. Okay, this is the defense could say this is a lot of his private business. It's been put out in this trial, but this is not a man that's a criminal. This is not criminal enterprise. Just has a lot to do with his activity, his behaviors, his thoughts, his mind. He likes to release himself in different ways that other people don't do. But you can already tell the celebrities are very, especially high profile, very brilliant type of production kind of workers and things like that in the entertainment music world, that they're very different, right? Britney Spears has made that crystal bikini panty to the screen clear that they are not like us. Okay, so that's a criminal enterprise, right? But no, that's not, because you'd have to bring all the celebrities in for that very thing, and you know that there are some that are getting ready to be the star of the Olympics that they don't want to bring in. So if we could clear this thing up and not bring everybody in, because then we might have to end up, if we talk about this dude and the names that he could drop, we could end up seeing this man to say things that the breezy from the United States did. And we need to clean this thing up as quickly as we can, right? So defense is like, this is, his private business being put on a trial. This is not a man that's a criminal enterprise. It just has a lot to do with the activity that exists in his, busy schedule, and clearly the busiest bedroom of any bedroom that we have ever talked about in a lifetime of talking about bedrooms. Don't nobody else have no more. I don't want now one other celebrity. I don't want to hear about you, Fat Joe. It took us 2.5 hours to talk about your nastiness, and now we find out that they're about to be bringing you possibly on RICO charges. So we're gonna have to go through an 8 week trial talking about what you done. And now you think, look, Diddy at least is fine. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to be nasty out in the streets, but Diddy is fine, right? So at least when people look at Diddy, and Cassie is fine, those are good looking people. So at least when the jury had to sit and look at their tapes, it was not just, but Fanjo sloppy. Hey, you, and they don't want to have to go through that, and then they have you on minors. What? Don't nobody want to go through your nastiness. So I really, can they just drop your charges? Can you just do a plea deal? Spare us the details of your activity, Fat Joe, and do a plea deal. That's all we have to say on Fat Joe, right? All right. Chad, what do you think? Guilty or not guilty? Beyond reasonable doubt. The Diddy trial is not over. Not to the aspect of the way that they thought. The drop charges, we brought that into complete detail. I hope everybody was able to hear. Remember that the trial, the live here does replay, so you can go over there if you missed the live from yesterday. If you missed the last 30 days, right? All the coverage that we've done for 30 days of coverage on the Sean P. Diddy. If you have missed it, my YouTube link is in the bio. You can go through and click through and replay those. Keep yourself busy, keeps me well, growing in these streets, because coming from my success on Blog Talk Radio and having to rebuild the brand into a whole new thing is a real journey. It is not easy. Shout out to my former BTR host, because I know y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Um, you guys are talking about that's what's bought. I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat. A lot of celebrities flash cash to get what they want. How many times have we seen that accusation on a constant? I will get you this, Robert Kelly didn't use discipline. Shannon Sharp wasn't brought up on any charges, but that happens all the time in celebrity world. I have this money. I can get you this. I can get you that. The girls, daddy's little girls that are out there. I am so sick and tired of y'all falling for it just because you want a Birkin bag. Let me show you my Birkin bag. Everybody want a Birkin bag, and I get that. Y'all want to see my Birkin bag? This is my Birkin bag. This is a little pouch that I carry with my little microphone devices so I can travel. Girl, who gives a dang about a Birkin bag? Shoot, and if you listen to China, you can go to China and get that beef for $5. Stop allowing people to bring you into the worst part of who you are. So if you're a daddy, I'm a daddy's girl, so I was taught differently. Hey, beef blood. I was just talking about Block Talk at BTR. Like, we have to do a lot to rebuild, right? So if your daddy didn't teach that to you, right, that you need to care about what you have, that it is powerful, it is so extremely strong, that if you carry it in such a way and respect it more than anyone could ever respect it for you, if you do this, I promise, and respect it more than anyone could ever respect it for you. If you do this, I promise you that the Birkin bags will just flow. God know you want a Birkin bag. You don't have to sell your body or your soul for no Birkin bag. If God says she's going to have a Birkin bag, if God says the same, you'll get one. If God doesn't want you to, you're gonna get a food. You're gonna get a whole food that's gonna have you laying up with a whole bunch of dudes and taking yellow liquids, yellow drops. slowly and all that other stuff that Cassie testified about. Like you're gonna have all that going on and feeling like a whole walk of shame fool because you wanted to live the lifestyle of luxury. Girl, let me tell you something. You want to live the lifestyle style of luxury. Can I tell y'all something? There's a YouTuber. Me and these YouTubers, I swear they keep me going in the middle of the night when I need to fall asleep, right? So there's a YouTuber that went into the home. It's an abandoned home of Sean P. Diddy Combs. So go ahead, pack your bag. Now you're gonna have to be real slick with it, okay? Because he was slick with it. But it's an abandoned home and nobody wants it. And it's in Atlanta. So there's a YouTuber that went and he walked around and he enjoyed the very aspects of Kim Porter's old home that she left when they took off to California. So the home that Diddy bought for Kim Porter in their life, right? So go in there, make you, take you a cup of tea, get you a couple of tea glasses, and take you a cup of tea, put your camera up, and act like stand in front of the house and act like that's your house. It's an abandoned home. They haven't done anything with it. So you want a little bit of luxury, go over there and fake it for a few. But do not let these dudes have you laying up and spreading wide, getting absolutely nothing but shame out of it, coming back years later and wanting to do claims. And what is it? How much did Cassie get again? We've gone over so many numbers. I forgot. Let me check my notes. How much money did Cassie get? Coming and trying to get some money to buy her dignity. Cassie tried to buy her dignity back. And that's because she's not a real daddy's girl. Because if she had a real upbringing with the parents and grandparents and real upbringing, I got the kind of upbringing where my uncles stood 13 uncles deep, right? So no guys get to come in and play games, right? So when you have that kind of an upbringing, then right? She got millions. Yes, she definitely had millions, all because she wants to buy her dignity back over all this foolishness that we had to sit and listen to in the trial. All right, you guys, guilty or not guilty, we will find out soon. Now, the jury could go into deliberations after closing arguments. They're going to be good. The prosecution will bring good arguments. Defense, we see the professionals that exist in this particular trial. So they will bring these closing arguments. Sorry. They will bring these closing arguments, you guys, and then they will turn around and from there from there go into deliberation and maybe by the end of Friday, but don't get that hopeful. Don't get that hopeful. Expect us to possibly still be back here Monday or Tuesday, waiting and hoping and seeing we'll hear about kind of some of the things that they do. I really hope that they go in there, close the door, and get to it, and just help us all move on. Get to it before my therapy session at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Okay. So that way I could just bring it to my therapist. Okay. All right. All right. I let it go. It was stress that I didn't need to add into my life. I already knew that that was something that I didn't need to bring on. We know my story, but I did it anyway. I was hard headed and I went into the whole 30 days of the Diddy trial. So let's recover and do your job because that's what I pay you for. Do your job and get me past it. I'm joking. I'm joking. I love my therapist. Okay, you guys. So that's pretty much all that we have for today. We did it in 51 minutes. So you rock. You got to 1.3 thousand on the tab. So I appreciate that. 1.4 thousand people stopped in. I appreciate that. Almost 100 or so stayed in the room a little consistently. So that's always good when it moves over. When it goes over to YouTube, we will replay it probably in about an hour after my lunch. I will replay am I still in keto? No wonder I'm all I'm telling you, you want some natural energy keto. Just go into keto, I promise you. Because you're like, if I go ahead and hurry up and get this conversation over, I can go buy some food. All right, I'm going to share that. I have so much of that journey to share with you guys, but I can only share it on YouTube because TikTok won't let me talk about those kind of things. And I have so much that I have to share with you on how I've been able to take the weight off, right? But I can't talk about that on here. All right, so we'll get back to it. Link it, YouTube link in bio. Please do support and connect and follow the host if you will. YouTube link in bio to get full recaps and full replays of the shows. And I think that's pretty much it. I think as far as current events news, I did hear that there is a shortage of barbers and there is a shortage of hairstylists. So if you retired that business and you think that maybe you're willing to reconsider, you've done your rest and your due diligence, and you think that you would love to reconsider, start posting your ads up on all those spaces. If you braid hair, whatever it is that you do, let's get back to taking care of the people. All right. I know it's a lot though. I know that whole industry. I have friends in that industry. I walked as a model in that industry before. So yes, I know it's a lot. But if you guys can and you have the time and you can make your way off of TikTok. No, actually you could do. I go to different stylists that they go live and they just do hair. They don't have their client's face on, but they sit and do hair. You can make it a TikTok thing, but definitely get back at it, hairstylists and barbers. All right, that's all that I have right now. Thank you so much for your comments, Luna. I appreciate you, Luna T Vibes. Am I following you? If I'm not following you, make sure that you follow me and I will follow back. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for mod reborn. Follow my mod chat, tap in if you're here so they can see you and can follow. And thank you for those gifts. Thank you for Luna for your daily heart me. Thank you, Brent, for your daily heart me. Thank you, beautiful butterflies stopped in. Thank you. I appreciate you making the time for me today. Also, I appreciate that. And I think that's really like all that I have, so we could get to work. So Facebook gets left out now because that's family and friends. So when it comes to family and friends, I leave them out because they should be showing up as, and they're the ones that said you need to get on TikTok, you need to do a podcast. Girl, if you write books, if you would just write books, I'd buy them. Girl, if you would, and they did it. So I give them the talk last. I said what I said, Facebook, because some of y'all did, but all of y'all didn't buy them books like that. Y'all don't tune into the podcast like that. So y'all get it last. Until y'all start supporting that, I get to talk to them like that because I know them in real life. Okay, so anyway, shout out to my family and friends. I love y'all so much. I love y'all. I love y'all. All right. Somebody said typical trial. Yeah, typical trial. Typical the way that we do things, but we still the best. We still the best at it. Nobody can outdo the United States of America at all. Okay. All right, you guys, that's all that I have to say for today. Thank you so much for coming by. And again, in the Diddy trial, we still have a few hours for my little saying to fit. So we'll go ahead and say it with me, class. If the drama don't fit, we must acquit. There's a few more hours to where that won't matter because the jury will go into deliberation. We don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I know after all this work, they want to deliver those closing arguments. They want to do the rest of the work. They've come this far. It was a marathon. The Diddy trial was a marathon of chaos. People then fell. People broke their ankles. Like those are just analogies, but like literally so much. Should I say metaphors? So much has happened in this trial. So much has happened in this trial. Should I say metaphors? So much has happened in this trial. So much has happened in this trial, and we know that either way, whatever decision is made, in a few more days, we will find out. Will the artist that we know, the entrepreneur that we know, the icon that we know as Sean, Puffy, P. Diddy, Puff, Love Combs, will he go down? Will Diddy go down for life? Will Diddy simply get the lesser charges of the 0 to 10, which means that he will walk home on the very hour of the announcement of? He would probably go home a few hours later. Will he get a mistrial? Will they just say, no, I can't do this. This was the craziest thing. I don't like it. It seems sus, as the children say. Will the jury just come back and say, what's this say? And the judge open it is going to say, sus. Some Romanian's going to be like, explain. No, there's no Gen Zs. So is it? I think it's mostly Gen X, kind of upper class, upper age group, all that happening. CEOs, business owners, and all that on that jury for the most part. So especially when that one juror that was dismissed and all that's now gone. So yeah, they'll probably come up with a grown up answer of guilty or not guilty. And what will happen? Will Sean P. Diddy Combs do life or will Sean P. Diddy Combs go home? That's where we are right now. We're almost at that answer. Hang in there, but then you still need to stick around with me. There's more to talk about than Sean P. Diddy Combs. So make sure you're following the host. We talk. I've been talking since 2010. You can't tell that I'm tired. You can't tell them I'm tired. you cannot tell that I'm tired of trying to get you guys to support me on a. I love it though. I will do it until the end of time. I will absolutely continue to hope that you'll support me, but I will do what Michael Jackson said best to me to do. I will make sure that what he said in that interview, I was like, I'm right here. I will make sure that even if it is just one, I will talk to my one in the audience the same way that I talk to my thousands. All right. And that's just me being me. And people that know me since I'm 9 years old will pretty much say, yeah, she's going to pretty much talk the same way and she'll do that until the end of time. All right. So thank you guys so much for coming by. Thank you for that gift. I appreciate that. Thank you for the love. And I am out. Thank you so much, guys, for stopping by. Follow the host. YouTube link in bio to get the full replay of all the shows. If you missed the Fat Joe Talk, it's a 2.5 hour show. It is now up on YouTube. You can tap into that. Shorts have a little bit of clips. If you only have time for the shorts, you can click on my profile, IMG Shields on YouTube. YouTube link is in the bio here on TikTok. You can click on there and get the recaps as anything that you may have missed so that you can arrive at beyond reasonable doubt where you stand on the issue of Sean P. Diddy Combs. Thank you guys for coming by. Also, you didn't get me to 10K. Remember, if you had a tap to 10K, I was going to read the book to you for free. But because you didn't do it, reason she's excessive over a man. The link is in the bio. You guys go. You can get it on Amazon if that's easier for you to do. Barnes and Noble if you want to use your credits and get it real easy. Pretty sure you guys have a lot of credits because you do a lot of reading. You are making sure that you're doing a lot of reading, right? So if you're doing a lot of reading, you should have credits to be able to grab the book. Also, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Have a great one.